What's going on YouTube? It's been a while since I've actually made a vlog. I've been sitting back watching and reading and just taking my time and getting over a lot of the stuff that some people have sent me as far as hate mail, etc. Guys mostly sending me all that crap about how I'm on the women's side and all this and all that. But one thing that I started to notice was that there is a horrible idea of submission out there. Black men not wanting to submit to black women not wanting to submit to black men. So what I wanted to do was do a video about that, why submit. What I noticed here is that a lot of people are submitting for the wrong reasons, and basically you should be submitting only because of love. And I'm actually doing this out of order. I probably should do love first, but I'm going to do the submission first and then come back to love, because I'm tired of hearing men say, well, my wife ain't submitting and my girlfriend won't submit and black women don't submit to this, and women saying it's hard to be submissive and I can't be submissive and what does it mean anyway, I ain't no slave, and get it your damn self, and look at submission as a way for men to basically have slaves. And I admit, before actually looking into submit myself, it seemed like an ugly word, and that's only because I, like many others, let the culture and other people's negative experiences, past experience, and just like plain ignorance gear my decision. But let's dare to be different for a minute. And first, just to understand, if the word submission bothers you, or just hearing it, just submit, then you're not ready for a committed relationship. And if you're in one now, I'll help you with a little bit of advice. Get out of it. If you're male or female and you seriously can't take the word submit, your relationship is doomed for failure. And I'll share why versus just sitting here and bashing people and all that other stuff. Let's just look into the word submission in itself. I'm gonna do some teaching, so if you got a problem with this, then you might want to look into one of those messages that hate and just continue to push hate. I'm about to teach a little bit, so from my teachings that I've received too. Submission is just basically broken up into two words, sub and mission. And sub, of course, means to be underneath or below. If you go to your Merriam-Webster's dictionary and you just look at the definition of mission, you have a body of persons sent to perform a service or carry out an activity, a team of specialists or cultural leaders sent to a foreign country with a task, and a specific task which a person or a group is charged. So basically, under or beneath a body of persons sent to perform services or carry out an activity, under or beneath a team of specialists or cultural leaders sent to a foreign country with a task, under or beneath a specific task which a person or a group is charged. Now let's be real. What's really the problem with submission if you look at it in the right way? Submission is to be underneath someone's plan or someone's idea or someone's agenda. Now the problem is, what are they submitting to? What is this person submitting to? And that's probably where we start our downfall on the idea of submission. But I've also heard submission being charged or equal to slavery. And if we look at the definition of slave, as a matter of fact, the first thing we think about when we even hear slave is what? Black people in chains. And that's just because that's what we've been geared to understand. And we've been geared to believe that submission equals slavery, equals bondage, equals not fun. But if we look into slavery for what it really is, the first definition we got, a person held in servitude as property. Nobody wants to be a slave in that definition. I can understand. But if we look at a slave in the second definition in your Merriam-Webster, a device that is directly responsive to another. A device that's directly responsive to another. If I can take this down for some of the younger people who are listening, it's like your TV and your remote control. Both can work independently, but work better with each other. That's the same thing with our relationships. Men to women, a man can survive without a woman can survive with a man, without a man, but we work better together. That's what we're here for, to coexist and to strengthen and to maximize our abilities through our relationships. That's what we're here for. Just like if we took the remote control, took it out of a box, pressed power, Yeah, it's going to make the TV work, but until we get a manual and read how to work the remote control, we can't program channels, or we can't use the TiVo. We can't maximize the remote control's usage without actually having a manual. So my question would be to people to whom have a problem with submission: what is it that the person you're with or person that you want to be, what is their manual? What are they into? What are they getting themselves into? What are you getting yourself into? What are some of your passions and your desires and your drives? And if you don't know these things, then you aren't ready for a relationship. So instead of talking about what you can't submit to, you need to start discovering what it is that you can submit to, because a relationship is nothing but mutual relational submission. We have to understand that. So first we got to make sure we're ready for a relationship before we even talk about submitting. So we have to get into what are our passions, what are our patterns, and what are our practices. What are we doing to make sure that we are the best person that we can be? You have to first start thinking, am I changing myself from the inside out and not from the outside in? So am I being moved by some of these superficial things that are being put in front of me? If you are, then that's why you're having a problem with submission, because it's not genuine. It's superficial. So once you acquire these things, then why am I submitting anymore? Because I've gotten what I want. It's very self-centered. There's nothing about submission that is self-centered. You're only doing this to help another person with no type of idea of reciprocity, meaning you're not looking for anything in return. So of course submission is hard if you're looking for something in return. So let's take it right down the avenue of you being in a relationship and somebody saying, can you make dinner for me? You got to look at it as you making dinner as a direct service to this person, not because of any other reason, because of their health benefits, or making sure that you're nurturing that person, making sure you're giving that person what they need to survive. Don't look at it as being somebody's slave, or being, down to somebody, or, they're looking at you as if they're above you and you're, beneath them. It's not that. You're giving somebody what they need. Now, granted, there is abuse to this. And that abuse is what the problem comes in, because both men and women abuse the ability of having someone who loves them and the other person not love them as much. They submit to a person, and now all of a sudden they feel used. This is definitely an issue, and this is a problem. But what I wanted to just first get into with you guys is understanding that before you can talk about submission, understand the word, understand what you're getting into. This is something that's going to take far more than 10 minutes to explain. But I just want to lay some of the groundwork, because I'm going to hit you with a couple more of these videos. And just, we're going to work with the submission thing. But first things first, to understand submission, you have to understand love. To be able to love someone unconditionally. If you don't love another person unconditionally, with no restraints or with no strongholds or without looking for something in return, of course it's going to be hard to submit to that person. So let's first look at what we're submitting to, who we're submitting to, and in my next video we'll get into the passions, the patterns, and the practices that you have to have before we even talk about defining roles. All right? KLB 3131, getting back at you guys, why you should submit. Peace.